What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Garcia's defense was being raised to god class level by the combined effects of Alternative, the ultimate enchantment, and in particular, its subskill Subjugation Conquest. When Agera realized this, he understood his blade could no longer slash through it.
Is that why my magic also didn't work?
Indeed. He's not particularly agile in his maneuvers, but if I can't injure him, we're going nowhere.
Agera's words make sense. Esprit could only scowl and nod in agreement. And if they couldn't win, she'd have to tell Carrera, which would be a horrible disgrace for the two of them. She, too, had eyes, and she, like Agera, decided that they were physically inferior to their foe. Their abilities could not compete with ultimate enchantments. Even a simple strike could break through ultimate skills if they were true dragons. That's what possessing the highest strength of any spiritual lifeform brought you. Esprit and her companions were demon peers, a high-level type of spiritual life form, yet their willpower was insufficient to conquer ultimate skills. That was the reality, and until they could change it, technique alone would not bring them success.
Do you see the difference now? Have you given up?
Garcia burst out laughing across the arena. It was frustrating not to be able to land a spear strike, but he wasn't going to worry about it too much. His mission here was primarily to stall the enemy, waiting until they were weary to ensure victory. And it might not take that long. His comrades in the other gates were annihilating their opponents right now, and they'd likely run in here to assist out soon. So, in Garcia's thinking, he could take his time and enjoy the battle. With a serious tone in her voice, Esprit asked Agera a question after clicking her tongue at him.
Didn't you know this would happen even if you were allowed to challenge that condo guy? Did you have no intention of winning today?
This made Agera grin.
Of course I do. I have a secret strategy that requires your assistance to be successful.
Esprit had no power to refuse.
Excellent. Tell me about it.
It was always Agera's intention to entice Esprit in this manner. She normally pretended to be detached from the world, but she had a hedonistic side as well. She would never have said yes if he had simply asked for a favor at the outset of all of this. That was Esprit for you, a devil who reveled in seeing her pals cry. Agera was well aware of this, so he chose to wait until Esprit had no choice but to assist him for a change.
Of course, if that enraged Lady Carrera, I could have been expelled as well.
He was overjoyed to win the bet. Before Esprit could alter her mind, however, he had to inform her of this secret plan.
I'm going to turn my will into a blade and strike him down. That is the only option.
Garcia would never be affected by anything Agera could do to him, in his opinion. Even if he tried to pierce his armor, the martial strength that engulfed his entire body would keep him secure. When your defense reached god class, outward looks stopped being as important since, bare skin or not, you were still entirely protected. Agera clearly outpaced Garcia in terms of agility alone, but he couldn't strike a critical hit on him, which was the reason. The only way out was for Agera to achieve the same level. If he could perfect the ability of listening to his sword's voice and becoming one with it. Agera concentrated all of his strength on the blade he was born with. Then he came to a decision.
So our will won't be able to pierce his armor?
Believe in me, Esprit. You may not be Lady Carrera's equal, but you have reached the level of talent that qualifies you as a real master. I know swords aren't your thing, but you have a knack for them. As a result, I believe you are deserving of my trust.
Huh? What are you on about?
Put your hand behind my back. I'll handle everything else.
Esprit was perplexed. Agera's words made little sense. But in the end, she opted to trust him. The swordsman stood up straight as Esprit tapped his back as instructed. Garcia was already on the scene, mocking them.
Oh, you've finally given up, haven't you? So, I'll make it simple for you right now. Okay, by this point, I'm confident that your master, the Demon Lord Rimur, has been defeated by Lady Valgrind. A sad conclusion for a sad little monster, but at least you can now guide him to the afterlife.
What?
This was an extremely awful statement.
You even consider Sir Rimuru, our god, to be a lowly being.
And, as if that wasn't enough, you think he's dead by now?
When the officers outside the gate overheard this through Esprit, their expressions changed. But even before that, Agera and Esprit had exhausted their patience.
Okay. I appreciate you keeping your cool when I was insulted earlier, but if you can keep your cool after that, you're no monster. I grant you permission to kill him right now.
Carrera didn't have to issue the command. They both meant to do just that.
Use my powers wisely, Esprit.
I'm not sure what this is all about, but whatever. I'm going to kill that jerk.
they were moved by their rage. Agera threw his whole consciousness into his blade and spoke directly to it, awakening a new power inside him.
Let me respond to your request. Sharpen your intellect and transform yourself into a blade.
He believed he heard a beautiful voice say it, but he wasn't sure. Regardless, power was definitely in Agera's hands now.
My body is an immortal blade, slaying my enemies.
A golden sword was in Esprit's grasp when Agera lodged the yell. This was the ultimate gift, Agera's newly gained power, blade transform. He was transformed into a sword, with its level added to that of the wielder. The effects of this blade were virtually incalculable if the holder was skillful enough. Esprit drew the sword in a smooth, natural motion. It sparkled with a bright platinum luster when it was pulled from its golden scabbard. As the blade sailed through the air, a little bouquet of 8 flower petals floated behind it. The Oboro Shinmei Ryu taught this as the core technique of sword drawing. It goes by the name multi-layered blossom flash.
You are dead, you piece of garbage.
Wait! What?
Garcia did not notice anything. He couldn't understand anything.
What happened just now?
His target, who had been totally concentrated on defense up to this point, seemed to vanish in a dazzling flash of light. He realized Agera had transformed into a sword, but there was no time to ask why he'd be slain if he pondered the matter. He felt certain of his own defenses. No attack could ever succeed in the face of their ultimate power. To break it, they'd need another ultimate ability like his, something he couldn't detect from the demons right now. So, relieved, he took his time and maneuvered them into a corner. Then, in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Garcia's armor had been ripped apart like thin paper, and his body had been split into little bits. He'd been sliced no less than 8 times in a single instant, and his life was over before he could think. Or perhaps he had time to consider. Esprit now held a small crimson orb in his hand, the embodiment of his soul.
Isn't this one red?
Esprit whispered.
Certainly fits him.
Do you think? Because I believe he was just an upstart who didn't know his place.
Agera said, reverting to his normal shape. He looked downcast at the crimson ball.
You fool, a warrior will never remain silent when his master is insulted. But, oh, I should have warned my lord about this, but instead I became enraged at the words of a tiny man.
Esprit comforted him with some unique remarks.
What could you possibly do now? Sir Rimuru was being insulted by him. Lady Carrera even gave her approval. Why are you being so hard on yourself?
Yes. Well, let's just leave it at that, shall we?
Agera resolved inside himself to learn from this experience. He gazed at Esprit, perhaps envious of her. Agera has evidently learned a new skill. And he recalled who he was before he was born. A person who lived a life of training to master the blade. Not all of his memories returned, but the mastery he had achieved at the time was now inside his body. Regained, or perhaps recreated, was a better term. It was an Oboro technique used to drive out demons. Agera believed his soul was in his sword when he was still human. Was that why changing into one brought those memories back? Only then did he know why he had assumed the guise of a warrior. He used to be one before being reincarnated as a demon in this realm.
So my name was Byakuya Araki? I suppose if I walked around using the name of a dead guy, it would only confuse people.
Hakuro's face flashed into his head. All of his students became superb swordsmen, adopting the newly established technique known as Oboro Ryu, or Crestwater. Agera had modified the name because Shinmei Ryu, or Heart Life, style, struck him as overly conciliatory for an anti-monster school. It was a funny recollection to recall at the time.
Hehehe. But I'm sure I've changed my mind about Shinmei since Sir Rimuru named me, haven't I? So there's no need for me to intervene.
In this realm, he had married an ogre, and they produced a child, a female who gave them a grandchild. That was Hakuro, and this world was now filled with people Hakuro had reared and trained. Rimuru, Agera's master, was the most noble of them all, and Hakuro had to take the credit for his development. All of Agera's honed, polished abilities were being safely handed on, which he was overjoyed about, and it would be impolite for Byakuya Araki to turn up now. As a result, he shifted his concentration. He had lost interest in the garbage he had just slain, so he turned around and returned to Carrera, his current master. The other officers cheered as the 3 demons came from the gate.
Excellent work. I'm really proud.
Carrera repeatedly slapped Agera on the back. It nearly killed him.
I've prepared some refreshments for all of you.
A table was perfectly arranged with freshly brewed tea and sandwiches. This was Zonda's work, and it was warmly accepted as well. Esprit passed the red ball to Carrera, putting other concerns aside for the time being.
Here is that foul-mouthed man's soul. His heart core is trapped inside, thus his ego remains.
Nice work, Esprit. We may now punish this idiot for insulting Sir Rimuru.
We certainly can. By the way, Carrera, could you please delegate that task to me?
Carrera threw the ball at the interfering Ultima.
I don't mind if it's okay with Benimaru.
Whatever you want.
She didn't need to inquire. Benimaru had no desire to torture the dead, and he couldn't do anything with people's souls anyhow, so he had no choice but to leave the matter to the demons. Normally, he would consider it against his morals to do anything else to an opponent once the combat had ended. However, Garcia's remarks were genuinely awful this time. Benimaru was not going to interfere on his behalf, therefore the soul fell into the hands of Ultima.
Wonderful. Let us now begin. Crazed Vendetta Expiation.
Ultima created and perfected this lethal poison. It wasn't a physical one, but one that ate away at the spiritual and astral bodies as well. This red ball, the embodiment of a soul, could not survive it. Garcia yelled in pain.
Stop! Stop!
Ultima, though, kept on laughing.
Oh, yes. Look how powerful this is.
What exactly is the effect?
Testarossa inquired. Of course, she knew, but she wanted Garcia to know.
Well, it applies constant, never-ending pain until the power contained within the soul wears off. He will likely get to enjoy it for a very long time because this one was very energetic. And when it's finished, perhaps in 1,000 years, he'll be reincarnated as a pure, spotless soul.
Ultima couldn't wait to explain. Meanwhile, Garcia could only cry silently. He wondered where he went wrong, but it was too late now.
Ah, yes, well done. I'm sure he's grateful to you right now for allowing him to atone for his misdeeds.
Testarossa gave a pleasant smile. Benimaru really questioned all of that, but this time he would not spare their victims. Besides, they had Zonda's lovely tea break to look forward to.
You know.
Esprit remarked, wondering to herself if they had time for this break.
I didn't know what I was going to do when Agera started talking about not being able to win.
She felt comfortable expressing this veiled complaint now that everything was calm once more. She knew Agera would have a strategy, but she was still angry over being so brilliantly exploited.
The moment we've been waiting for. Jinwoo's power is off the charts. His S rank is officially confirmed, leaving everyone in disbelief. Don't miss this epic twist in solo leveling.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Miss LDW Hernandez, Jason Martin, Zach Rosen, Jerry Sladek, Stone Larone, Alfonso Smith, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, Jahid Hassan Lipu, Samuel Ward. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.